No apparent ties to China or anyone who traveled there. They are now trying to retrace this invisible line of transmission. Where did she get it here in the U.S.? Dozens of medical staff being asked to self-quarantine. And why did it take days for the woman to be tested for coronavirus? And reports tonight the White House has told health officials to stop speaking unless it goes through Vice President Mike Pence. And we asked Dr. Jen Ashton tonight who is being tested for coronavirus here in the U.S. Also breaking, the other toll tonight, the economy. The Dow plunging nearly 1,200 points today alone. The largest single-day point drop ever. The companies and the warnings tonight of zero profit growth this year, and we are live on Wall Street. The news just in tonight, 5 workers dead in that brewery rampage, and now word on the worker who was behind it. What authorities have just revealed. The major winter storm slamming parts of the Northeast tonight, dangerous winds, blinding snow, and now brutal cold moving in tonight. Rob Marciano timing this out. The developing scene in Houston tonight, drivers on top of cars waiting to be rescued. After a major water main break, the pipeline supplying up to half of the city's water. We are one-on-one with Joe Biden tonight. Does he need South Carolina to keep going? What he tells our correspondent. The driver slamming into a daycare as some children were napping. Several injuries. Authorities on the scene tonight. And could Tom Brady be leaving the New England Patriots? The new headline tonight.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin tonight with that new and concerning case of the coronavirus here in the United States. A patient in California this time with no apparent ties to China or anyone who traveled there testing positive. Tonight, the hunt now for the source. How did she get it? And this new case raises troubling issues tonight. Why did it take 4 days to test the patient? And dozens of medical workers who cared for her are now being closely watched. California's Governor Gavin Newsom tonight saying his state is monitoring some 8,400 people who traveled to infected parts of the world, but that California has just 200 test kits. That woman lives in the same county where Americans are being quarantined after coming back from China. But again, they do not know how she got it. Now trying to retrace this invisible line of transmission. So we begin tonight with ABC's Will Carr in California.
Tonight, there's an intense search in California to find out if the novel coronavirus is spreading through this community. Authorities are trying to find everyone who came into contact with the Solano County woman after she tested positive.
They're contacting any individuals who might have been exposed, and they're isolating them.
Tonight, her case is believed to be the first spread through her community. The problem, since she had not traveled to the hot zone and did not know anyone infected, even after being placed on a ventilator at a local hospital, she was not tested for 4 days after showing symptoms.
Do residents need to be wearing masks right now?
We do not believe so.
But experts say valuable time has been lost.
Every single delay in testing means potentially the virus could go to hundreds or thousands of more people.
At this point, authorities say there are no connections to nearby Travis Air Force Base, which has housed Americans under quarantine. But tonight, a new whistleblower complaint raising questions about the safety of those workers assigned to the quarantined Americans. The New York Times and Washington Post are reporting federal employees worked without proper training or protective gear at March and Travis Air Force bases. The Secretary for Health and Human Services was asked about the workers today.
To your knowledge, were any of the ACF employees exposed to high-risk evacuees from China?
They should never have been without appropriate PPE.
What's PPE?
That's personal protective equipment.
Tonight, at least 33 people, most flown into the states, have tested positive in California. Another 8,400 are being monitored after trips overseas. And Governor Gavin Newsom says the state is running out of kits to test for the virus.
We have just a few hundred testing kits in the state of California, and that's surveillance testing as well as diagnostic testing. That's simply inadequate.
The CDC has pledged more in the coming days. In a matter of weeks, the virus has spread to every continent but Antarctica. Japan has closed all schools for a month. In South Korea, there are now drive-through testing facilities. Back home, if the virus spreads rapidly, the CDC is telling Americans to be prepared to stay at home with 2 weeks worth of food and medicine. And with masks in high demand, experts warn they won't protect healthy people from getting the virus.
Anyone who does not have a respiratory illness, meaning a cough or sneezing, should not be wearing any type of mask.
Yeah, they're really concerned about this. They want folks who are actually sick to wear the masks instead. And Will Carr joins us now from outside that hospital tonight. And Will, we know some of those hospital workers who came in contact with this patient have also been quarantined?
That's right. A number have been asked to self-quarantine, to stay at home, check their own temperatures, and report in if they show any symptoms. Everyone else across this region is considered low risk tonight. David.
All right, Will Carr leading us off tonight. Will, thank you. This new case, of course, brings a whole new set of questions. Why did it take so long for the patient to be tested for coronavirus? So let's get right back to ABC's chief medical editor, Dr. Jen Ashton, who is with us here tonight. And Jen, first of all, that new patient in California, particularly because she's in the county where they brought Americans back from China who are being quarantined. Was it alarming to you that it took 4 days?
Well, that's alarming, but this case is significant because it represents the first case of human-to-human transmission in the community. If we were to see a lot of that, David, it would meet criteria for a pandemic. In terms of the time, that is problematic, and I think doctors were just trying to follow the previous recommended guidelines on who should be tested.
The key difference about this case, no direct ties to China. She didn't know anyone that had been to China, and that's why they're so alarmed about community spreading of this. In the meantime, the testing of coronavirus. We heard Governor Newsom say they have 200 test kits, wondering if people have flu symptoms, why they're not just testing for coronavirus as a precaution at this point.
Well, we're seeing some change just recently, David. The CDC revised their testing guidelines to now include anyone with flu-like symptoms and a history of recent travel now to these 5 countries: China, South Korea, Italy, Japan, and Iran. But even tonight as we come on the air, David, tests from Massachusetts and New York still have to be sent down to Atlanta, so they're going to have to ramp this up and quickly.
Those tests still being sent to Atlanta to be tested, not a rapid response.
Exactly.
All right, Jen, thank you. We continue to follow the economic fallout as well tonight. The Dow falling nearly 1,200 points, the largest single-day point drop ever. The Dow losing 1,190 points, down another 4.42%, and the 6th day of losses. It's been the worst week since the financial crisis in 2008. Let's get right to ABC's chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, at the New York Stock Exchange. And Rebecca, we were watching all day today, and I wanted to bring up what we heard from Goldman Sachs today, their forecast that the coronavirus could wipe out all corporate profit growth for 2020.
That's right, David. What Goldman Sachs is saying here is that the biggest companies in the United States might not grow this year because of the coronavirus. And we heard from Marriott, who warned this could negatively impact their results. We've heard from numbers of major U.S. corporations, from Apple to Nike, Microsoft, United Airlines, saying that this virus will impact negatively results this year, David.
All right, Rebecca, this next question is really an impossible one to answer. I'm sure folks at home, 401ks, and watching the effect on the economy are going to want to know when will markets calm down. I know they take into account, they forecast what's coming months ahead. So when does that catch up? Because we're just starting what it seems to be this story of coronavirus.
That's so true, David. And the biggest question on Wall Street's mind tonight is how long and how severe will this outbreak become? Because as U.S. consumers watch these headlines and make choices about travel, about dining out, about spending time in public places, all of that has economic consequences. And the longer the outbreak lasts and the more dire those decisions become, if they do go down that path, the worse it becomes for jobs and the U.S. economy, David.
All right, Rebecca Jarvis tonight. Rebecca, thank you. And amid the fears and the financial concerns of the White House, in the last 24 hours, the president announcing Vice President Mike Pence is the new point person for the government's response, meeting with the interagency task force today. And one of the first moves, a new way of controlling what information reaches the public. On that tonight, ABC's Kira Phillips.
As stocks swan dive and coronavirus fears grow, President Trump today praising his administration's response, now being led by Vice President Mike Pence.
The president has no higher priority than the health and safety of the American people.
The vice president now moving to control what information gets to the public. According to senior White House sources, all statements about coronavirus from the CDC or the Health Department must now be vetted by the vice president's office. The CDC warning the coronavirus will spread, saying it's not a matter of if, but when. However, 24 hours ago, the president saying this.
I don't think it's inevitable. I think that there's a chance that it could get worse. There's a chance it could get fairly substantially worse, but nothing's inevitable.
The Senate's top Democrat says Trump isn't being straight with the American people.
The president must stop trying to minimize the nature of the coronavirus threat. His attempts at spinning the facts are just not credible, and they are harmful to the federal response.
So let's get to Kira Phillips with us live from the White House tonight. And Kira, we know just moments ago, President Trump speaking on the coronavirus again, and he said tonight that Democrats should be praising his response.
That's exactly right, David. President Trump just now declaring that the administration's response has been incredible. According to pool reports, the president saying, quote, "It's going to disappear. One day it will be like a miracle and go away." David?
All right, Kira, thank you. Our coverage of the coronavirus for tonight, but we're going to move on to the other news headlines. A short time ago, authorities revealing the identity of the man who went on a shooting rampage in the workplace at a brewery in Milwaukee, killing 5 of his fellow workers and then himself. ABC's Alex Perez tonight with what authorities just revealed.
Tonight, authorities in Milwaukee identifying the employee they say brutally murdered 5 of his fellow co-workers at Molson Coors as 51-year-old Anthony Farrell. Authorities tonight identifying the victims ranging in age from 33 years old to 61.
They were powerhouse operators, they were machinists, and they were electricians. But more importantly, they were husbands, they were fathers, and they were friends.
The chaos unfolding a little after 2 p.m. Wednesday.
Shooter still at large. We got 1 man down.
Police say Farrell entered the work building and gunned down 5 employees before killing himself.
If I wouldn't have gone to talk to this guy that was relieving me, I'd be one of them guys. I know that for a fact, because I would have walked right into what was going on.
Today, investigators searching Farrell's home as this community tries to make sense of this tragedy. David, authorities would not comment on the gunman's employment history here at the plant and at this point have not released any details on a motive. David?
Alex Perez with us tonight. Alex, thank you. Now to the race for 2020 tonight and the countdown to the South Carolina primary 2 days away now. Tonight here we are one-on-one with former Vice President Joe Biden, who has considered South Carolina his firewall. ABC's Mary Bruce with Biden as Bernie Sanders tonight declares he is the most electable against President Trump.
After coming into the race as the frontrunner in South Carolina, Joe Biden is now looking for a comeback. We spoke to him today on his campaign bus.
You've said if you win here that you will be unstoppable, but your rivals disagree. They say even if you do well here on Saturday, that it won't make a difference, that it won't be enough to propel you to win big on Super Tuesday and beyond.
Well, not a pundit, but let's see. Let's just see what happens.
It's not too little too late?
I don't think so at all. We'll see.
For Biden, this is deeply personal. At a town hall overnight, opening up about his faith and the loss of his son, Beau.
My son, Beau, is my soul. And what I found was I had to find purpose. He asked me when he was dying, promise me, Dad. Promise me, Dad. Promise me. He said, I know no one loves me more than you do, Dad. But promise me you'll stay engaged. And every morning I get up and I say to myself, and I give you my word as a Biden, I hope he's proud of me. Hope he's proud of me. Because that makes me move on.
The new frontrunner, Bernie Sanders, is already looking ahead to Super Tuesday. Today in North Carolina, pointing to the latest polls, he argued he is the most electable.
So don't tell me Bernie can't beat Trump. We're going to beat him. We're going to beat him here in North Carolina. We're going to beat him all over this country.
Sanders is expected to also do well in South Carolina, but with the other candidates splintering the vote, new questions about what comes next.
If they don't do well, should your rivals like Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, should they start thinking about dropping out?
No, look, I'm not going to tell any other candidate what they should do. I know why I'm running. They know where they're running. I'm going to stay in this because it matters.
Mary Bruce on the campaign bus with Joe Biden today. Mary's in Charleston, South Carolina tonight. And Mary, President Obama, as we reported here last night, of course, staying on the sidelines during this race, saying so little. But tonight we're actually hearing a little bit more from him. And he says he's, in his word, encouraged by the Democratic field.
Yeah, David, the former president seems to be trying to calm some nerves here and tamp down concerns that the Democratic establishment won't be able to unite around a candidate. Obama today reiterating in a routine fundraising email that he will, quote, wholeheartedly support whichever Democrat wins the nomination. David.
Mary Bruce with us again tonight. Mary, thank you. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. That major winter storm slamming much of the Northeast tonight, and the brutal cold right behind it will have the new track. The developing scene playing out in a major American city. Drivers on top of cars today waiting to be rescued when the highway was submerged after a major water main break supplying half the city's water.